So good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Coleman from Paul's Photo and the Creative Photo Academy. Welcome to the 2022 edition of Perspectives, the presentation of projects from our advanced project class, project concept to presentation. And I want to invite all of our photographers, all of the students, all of the presenters tonight, go ahead and open up your microphones, open up your cameras, and say welcome to all of your family and friends who are out there in the audience out there.
Welcome. Hey, hello, everybody. How's it going?
Welcome, everybody.
Thanks for coming.
How's the weather out there?
All right, guys. So you'll hear from them a little bit later as we get going. So please go ahead and shut off your videos, mute your microphones. Awesome. And that will leave just 3 of us here on the screen. So John, please mute your microphone, close your video, please. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming tonight. And I want to first of all introduce our panelists. So to my left on Zoom is my good friend Justin Tedford. So Justin and I have been teaching photography together for many, many years. Justin, you want to say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, so I'm Justin. I'm from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So I'm primarily a landscape kind of guy, but I kind of dabble in a little bit of everything, commercial work. Yeah, and I've known Mark for quite a while. So I don't know how many years it's been, but it's been a few.
A long time. So what kind of photography and what kind of teaching do you do, Justin?
Oh, yeah. So I mostly primarily do landscape photography. When it comes to teaching, I do intermediate landscape for Creative Photo Academy. And then outside of that, I do a lot of private lessons, helping beginner photographers to kind of into the almost to the pro realm a little bit, depending on what they're looking for. So
awesome. Great. And below me on Zoom is Libby Birmingham, a professional photographer from here in Los Angeles. Libby and I have been friends for years, and she's an awesome photographer and educator. You want to say hi, Libby?
Hi, guys. My name is Libby Birmingham. I am not only am I a local photographer that works for the newspapers, shooting our local sports, anything from high school to pro. Then I also am an elementary teacher as well. So I am Jack or Jill of all trades, I should say, a little bit, but truly enjoy photography and incorporate it in all of my classrooms actually as well. And thanks to Mark.
That's great. So I invited you guys here tonight so that our students, my students, the project class students will get a second opinion. We're trusting that you guys are going to give great, honest critiques. We talked about the critiques and the evaluations. So I'm excited to see what you think about the projects. So for all of you in the audience, I hope you got from me today the program, and in the program are the project statements and the order tonight of how people will be presenting, so you can see when your favorite photographer and loved one is coming up. For all of our Creative Photo Academy students, we really appreciate you supporting the advanced photography students, and hopefully we'll all see you here one day next year, because it is time to register for advanced photography next year. If you have questions about that, send me an email. I'll actually put some of that information in the email that you get from me thanking you tomorrow with the recording of this presentation. So any more comments, Libby or Justin?
I'm good.
We're going to get rolling here. So can you see my screen, Photoshop Bridge? Yes or no? Libby, Justin?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. So I want to welcome you all to Perspectives. It's been 25 years of the advanced project class. It's been an amazing journey. And this class, we start out with an idea in January and work through the whole year of refining our idea, making our pictures, editing the photos so that we can share them with you tonight. And it's a grand journey. It's a great experience. And for those of you who are photographers, I recommend it for every single one of you. I want to welcome those of you who are regulars here at the Creative Photo Academy and those new to us to our amazing creative community, and hope you'll be joining us for a class, a trip, an outing, a workshop to help you build your photography. If you want to see what we're doing, of course, there's the Pulse Photo website, the Creative Photo Academy website, and online, Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. We appreciate your support here at Pulse Photo. We're a small family camera store. We can't live without you guys. So thank you for that. You know, to the students, congratulations. You made it to the end. I've known many of you when you started in boot camp years ago, and then you worked your way through the intermediate series, Justin's landscape class and Heather's portrait class and Mark's exposure composition class and Eileen's new exposure class and Bill's flash class in intermediate to get yourself to the advanced project class. And it's been an awesome journey, a fantastic journey that I have really enjoyed and loved sharing with each and every one of you to make this amazing night possible. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your hard work and effort this year, because it's always a challenge. And ladies and gentlemen, these are our projects. Our first presenter tonight is Sharon Wood and her project, Morning Light.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. I hope you enjoy watching the Bolsa Chica Ecological Preserve wake up with the morning light.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sharon Wood's Morning Light. Thank you, Sharon. That was awesome.
Thank you.
So, Libby, you want to go first? I picked you because you said you're the Jill of all trades. So go ahead.
I think it's a wonderful set of images. I think that the landscape with the bridge walking across was actually one of my favorites. If you go back right there, oh, one more, there you go. It was one of my favorites, the use of reflection and the light on the reflection there. And I think it was a nice composition. It leads the eye, but between the fence and the bridge, the walking bridge, it kind of, you know, it keeps your eyes busy throughout the image. The only thing I saw that I would have maybe looked at is maybe a few angles. Is you have a lot where it looks like you're standing up, and I would have loved to see like you down in the reeds if possible, you know, with the animals and such. But otherwise, I think it's a beautiful set of images and definitely on your wall worthy.
Thank you. Thanks for that tip too.
Justin, what have you got to say?
Yeah, so I was looking at my favorites for that image there. I think it was number 6. The one thing I loved about that, it was kind of reminds me, and this is another one, yeah, this one here. It kind of reminded me of that decisive moment. I mean, it's like perfectly placed. It's like a capture that was like meant to be. I mean, I was looking at, I think I stared at that one for quite a while, and I wanted to like it, and then I didn't like it, but I ended up coming to, I think when you're looking at capturing the moment, that did it. It's just like perfectly placed in the image. So
Thank
Just
you.
I want to second that, and I just say that also the clean background really helped it.
yes. And then the other one, that one, the one that I'm a rule of thirds guy. I love rule of thirds. That's how I see. I think it falls perfectly in there. The other thing that I loved about it was right that light. I mean, you were talking about your project being about morning light. and the simplicity of this, the clean background. I mean, it's just all right there for me because when I'm looking at it, I know what my subject is and I can focus on it. And for me, and the textures of the feathers. So great job overall. And I think overall in the project, you nailed it. I mean, when you're saying morning light, almost every one of those images had it.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
everyone. That's awesome. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, panelists. All right. Our next presenter tonight, Victoria Cook. Any way you slice it.
Hi, so I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful that I can share my passion for photography and my passion for clean eating all in one shot, or 12 shots.
Very good, Victoria. That's awesome. The images of Victoria Cook. Justin, are you ready?
I am. So I think it was number 3 and 11 that yes, this one. I love the simplicity in the sense it's just like there's 2 colors. All the little bubbles that, you can keep exploring. And I just kept going around through the image, and every time I was looking at it, I'd find something different. And I think I always tell people you need to find the extraordinary in the ordinary. And I think you did that overall with your project. You took something that was very normal, every day it's food. We all know what food is, but you put it into a different light. I mean, the macro, I'm assuming you did macro on all these for the most part. And I think it was just looking at something normal and with a different eye. And then the other one was, I think, number 11.
This is 11, Justin. Is that the one?
Yes, this one. At first, I didn't know what it was. And that's what I loved about it. I tell people when we're on social media 24 hours a day, it feels like, and we are bombarded with 1 billion images a day. And I scroll a lot. And I tell people you need to do something that makes people stop and look. And this made me stop and think. And I'm like, what is it? And I thought, could it be this? Is it watermelon? And then all these little details. And I'm trying to put all these things together in my brain. And kind of a fun fact about me, I actually have a culinary arts degree too. So when I got photography, food, I got super excited. But I mean, this is a different way of looking at your image. And I think overall, great job. I mean, your color and everything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Libby, are you ready?
I am. I personally fell in love with the close-ups. I loved the impact that the kiwi made as your first image, but not to echo Justin, but I loved the simplicity of the colors. And right off, I'm familiar with I'm familiar with fruit, and I was like, kiwi, that's amazing. But I love that it's not overly complicated. The grapes I thought were interesting. It took me a while to understand which ones those were. I actually was thinking like cell biology and organelles. And I was like, I actually went that deep with it. I was like, and it took me a good few minutes to really go, oh, wait, that's a grape, the different ways that you slice it. And I found that interesting. But number 11, same with me, was the watermelon shot. And at first I thought it was a spider web. That if that little detail in the center was actually a spider web, I was like, is that a spider web? What are we talking about here? And it took me a moment to realize, I bet that's watermelon because of the seeds. But I loved how it compared to the other fruits and how it was just I'm going to be punny. It was a fresh take on food photography.
Okay, thank you.
Don't smile at that. That was silly. And I know it.
Thanks, Libby. Thanks, Justin. That was awesome. Thank you, Victoria. Those were great.
Thank you.
Our next presenter, Tony Spencer, and Passion to Paint.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. I was excited to do this project because it combines two of my passions, which happen to be photography and painting. So it was kind of fun, but it was a bit of a challenge because it was hard to take pictures of myself.
Tony Spencer's Passion to Paint. Libby, are you ready?
I am. I really loved the direct shot on the brushes, looking down at the brushes, that simplicity of the shot. And I'm a little partial of clean images and close cropping. So with sports and things like clear backgrounds, and I love just the simplicity of the shot. And also, we don't tend to look at brushes this way. We tend to look at them straight on. And it just intrigued me to want to know more. And the shot you have of the self-portrait of you coming through the frame, I thought was a wonderful self-portrait. It shows that quirkiness, that fun, that obviously exudes from your personality. In this image, I just was like, and she's the one I want teaching art to the rest of the world, because she has a fun personality, and just, you know, you can tell that through that image. And I almost thought that your other self-portraits were wonderful, but this one spoke volumes over the others because it just showed your personality. I felt like you're fun, you have fun with it, and you just enjoy life. So, and I would have loved to see like the close up on your tiger when you're painting the tiger, because I am not I cannot paint. I can paint, okay, but not to your same medium. But I would have loved to see like an up detail shot of how you actually blend the colors around the tiger's eye to add that detail of like, here's how you go about, and then this is how I do it. This is how you create your craft. But I think it's a gorgeous shot, and your paintings are absolutely beautiful as well.
Thank you.
Justin?
Yes, so let's go back to the paintbrushes again. Top down image. Again, I think you kind of like what Libby said, we're used to seeing things in a certain way. We're used to looking at a paintbrush straight on, and for her to have this to the unique perspective of all that texture and the depth of field on it. You got some of the top of the brushes that are in focus, some are out. The other thing I really liked about it too is those shadows off onto the side. I think gives it a little bit of depth and dimension. I think if it was just like kind of a pure white background, it would just kind of float. So, I mean, again, and color. I mean, it's just so much, having that very simple, clean white background made all those different brushes and the textures and the highlights and the shadows kind of pop. And then let's go to, I think it was number 11. It was her painting the tiger. That one, yes. So the first thing that I noticed here was eyes are everything, whether it's a portrait, wildlife. Even though you're painting this tiger, that's the first thing I came into. And I noticed your texture, like Libby said, you had that nice texture. She'd love to see it kind of up close. But I liked how you were kind of coming out of the side and painting it. And you had that real tight crop, you know, where you were. I think overall it was a different perspective too. You could have, you know, been blocking the painting more. So great job. And then overall, what I love too is you showed the process. It just wasn't like there's tools of your trade, like we have cameras and lenses, you have your paintbrush and your canvases. It wasn't all detail shots. It was cool to see how you were starting a painting and then kind of working through the progress. And then at the end, seeing all of your paintings together. So great job overall.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Fantastic job. Our next presenter, Ray DeVito, bookmark this.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see you all here. Thank you so much for coming. I fell in love with the last bookstore in downtown LA, and I hope you do too. Enjoy.
Ray DeVito's bookmark this. Justin, you're up.
Let's go to the one with the stairs. So one, I like that little pop of light, you know, right there kind of coming down from the left side. It kind of draws my eye, and your eye's going to be drawn to like brighter parts of your image. But then what I loved about it too is a lot of your just overall in your images, you have this eye for finding unique perspective or unique things. This being stairs, I think as photographers, everybody just sees everything from their height. We forget to look down a lot. And this was just that detail that I loved to be able to read these. And it kind of just took me through the image. And I just kept wanting to go up and read all those. So I think great. I mean, on this one, it was very simple in color too. It's kind of not black and white, but you know, it's a two-tone color. Let's go to the one with the books. I think it was number 5. The next one. That one. I stared at this one forever. The light coming through that circle, giving that nice highlight. And then I wanted to read all these books and just see what was there. And I liked how that background beyond your kind of, I see a moon when I look at it because you get that highlight side. And I feel like having that background blurred out, I'm not distracted by it. So I'm not looking through and wanting to study it. And I just kept, like I said, going through those books. And I loved how you had that curve, that shape in there. It just kind of took me through the image and it just allowed me, like I said, I could have stared at this thing forever. It's such a unique image. And I think you're cropping too. So overall, great job on your project. I think you captured a very unique bookstore.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Libby?
I 100% agree with Justin. I looked at my notes, and yes, I did take notes. And Justin, you said almost everything I said. But the same image, I just absolutely loved it. It reminded me of those ones you see before movies of like the little kid sitting in the moon. And I could just imagine a kid sitting in that nook and just dreaming about what book to read next. And it just took me away. And I could see this as a book cover. I could see this on a wall. I could see this in a classroom. This is an image that I feel is a classic image that would stand the test of time as well. But also I agree with Justin on the image of the stairs. Is the simplicity of it just led me to draw my eye to the light, and then I naturally want to look down to the bottom of the stairs, and my eye was naturally drawn almost in an oval in a sense, following the image over and over, looking for little details each time I looked at it. But you balance these images with such angles to then go back to the softer one of the mom and daughter or aunt, whoever it might be, looking at the books. And so you had a nice balance of images, of softer images of the kids looking at books, and this, just enjoying a true bookstore, and the angles you looked from different perspectives. So it was a varied set of images that just kind of gave you that warm fuzzy. And now I just want to curl up with a good book.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your insights.
Great job. Ladies and gentlemen, our next presenter, Dan Fleischmann, in a different light.
Hi, everybody. I was kind of sold on color infrared photography when I first saw it. So I wanted to share an exploration of the South Bay using this technique. Hope you enjoy it.
Dan Fleischmann's In a Different Light. Libby, you're up.
I particularly loved the one in the church, or at least it looked like the church with all the different lines. Yep, right there. The lines had me looking throughout the image. I was constantly trying to find details, and then having that pop of color really struck me as like this peaceful and serene place. And I loved your use of buildings throughout your images. For instance, the bridge really popped with that clean background at the very end. We're going into detail. I love it.
Thank you.
And I love how it was like this clean background, and Justin will probably say his rule of thirds, and I would agree in this image. But I loved what you did with the palm trees, and then how in each area of the photo there was something different to look at. So I think overall you did a great job. You have a great eye for photography with, you know, the use of buildings and just seeing things in a different light, literally.
Well, thank you.
Justin?
Yes, so let's just start out with this one. This one was on my list. I like to call it FMB, which is foreground, middle ground, background. I mean, you have layers to this image, and that's what I love about it, because I think if you had shot with the little poles that are going vertically in the foreground, I think if you would have gone beyond that, I think a lot of times when photographers work with water, we want to be on the edge of the water, and then I feel like we're floating in water. This like puts me in a grounding, like I'm in the scene. And then your trees right there through the middle are super awesome. Like gives you that nice middle ground. And I keep wanting to work in layers as I go through. I look at the foreground, it pulls me to the middle ground, and then to obviously our subject, the bridge. And I like how that your sky is just a little brighter in the background. So it's pulling me right into where I want to go. So great job. And then overall too, I think you took a lot of just normal places and put a different spin on them with a technique. And it's a technique that I don't think we see a lot of anymore. And then let's look at this one too, Mark, this one right here. So this one I've seen several times in intermediate landscape. It always comes through in an assignment. It seems like every other class. And you've seen this differently. A lot of people shoot this straight on from what I've seen, or detail shots. But here you have, again, an interesting foreground, but you took something that I've seen 5 or 6 times already, that not that I was bored of, but I've seen it and it's all kind of been done the same way, or you came at it at a different angle. And again, with a unique technique that brought out something, like I said, I don't see infrared a lot around here anyway, in Iowa, of all places, but you know, it's a different technique. And I think you did a great job with trying to mesh your projectile and your images. I think you nailed it.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Justin. Thank you, Libby. Thank you, Dan. Great job. So our next presenter, Kudu, Quiet Beauty.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for all of you to be here, especially my friends, family, and fellow photographers. I hope you enjoy my work.
Ku's Quiet Beauty. Justin, you're up.
Let's go back to that last one, the tree with the little starburst. So I think overall of your project, you know, having it called Quiet Beauty, I felt it's very serenity. It's quiet. I could feel that. And to say that, I don't get, when I look at photos, I hate to say it, but so a lot of photos don't make me feel anything, to be honest. These just kind of gave me that sense of calm, that quietness. I think you nailed that. What I love about this one is you use the effect of the starburst in the tree. It was that little, for me, that was the cherry on the cake or the ice cream. It was just that little bit of extraness and that polished. And I like the contrast. You have the dark tree and the lighter background, which made that tree pop. And it's just kind of going all over and curving around. So great job. I think this could have been an image. It could have turned out really busy, but you made it, and as busy as it was, a very simple image overall. And then let's go look at the waterfall. So I am a sucker for slow shutter speed work when it comes to water. I don't even think about it any other way. And what I see a lot of people seem to do is they always want to put whatever the flowing water in the center. And you have it just shifted just off slightly enough that it was made, you know, it gives you that, just not like, I want to say, it's not perfectly centered, obviously. It gives you that little bit of off kilterness for me. But I like how you've got it where it's off to the left there, that water comes pouring through. There's really nothing to break that flow up, which I love. Because a lot of times you've got something like the leaves might go completely in front of the water and then it breaks that flow. And then you got that nice reflection in your post-processing too. It's not overly done. I think when people get into post-process work, they get really crazy in the greens and make things pop and oversaturated. And overall, for work-wise, on the project, everything was that way. It was all very well balanced. So awesome job.
Thank you, Justin.
You're welcome.
Libby?
So agreeing with Justin, you and I must have had a symbiotic brain in here today. But this image actually made me feel like I was just on a dance, actually, dancing down the waterfall, up the rocks, and you got that natural flow with it. And yes, I said flow with water. I know, bad puns today. But it was a beautiful image. And my favorite image was the tree. It was kind of like, okay, you have that tree with the starburst as well, because it was unexpected compared to some of the other images. This was just popped at you at the very end. And Justin, I think, put it the best way. It was the cherry, that cherry on top of the ice cream. It was, a wonderful way to end the show. And it just, the light, using that starburst, it could go so horribly wrong if you want to not use it. If you just hadn't used it, I've tried and I still don't get it right sometimes. And this one is a perfect example of how you got it right.
Thank you, Libby.
Thank you, gang. Thank you, Ku. Fantastic photos.
Thanks, Mark.
Our next photographer, Dave Mueller at the water's edge.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. I hope you enjoy my photographic study of the majestic beauty, the stunning artistry, and the breathtaking drama that can only be found where the land meets the sea at the water's edge.
Dave Mueller's at the water's edge. Libby?
I thought this was a beautiful set of images. It made me it truly did have a flow to it with the use of the slower shutter speed. And I also thought it was a good use of your focal points. For instance, I believe it was image number 8. Yes, that one. I personally loved this one. It reminded me of a dancer, like the driftwood that is just dancing, but it's almost like you caught a dancer and she turned the wood, and it would just, you captured that moment with the serenity of the background as well. This was probably one of my favorite images, along with your last image with the use of color. And that sunset, I would assume it was sunset at the beach. But I loved this image too because of that dark to light or light to dark, depending on how you're looking at it. And there was just always more to look at in this photo. So I loved that. I loved it overall. I would have loved to see a little bit more detail on the rocks, because when I read your how the sea interacts with it, but the natural beauty of the tidal environment, I would have loved to see if you could have actually gone up and see if you got any of the animals or things in that tidal environment as well. But I loved it overall. I think it really does tell a story of, how the water meets the edge and how you are able to interact with it.
Thank you.
Justin?
Yeah, so let's talk about this one here. One, I'm again sucker for moving water and making it soft, but I love you have so many different textures here. The very soft water, you got a little bit of that rock on the right side is kind of hard, and then you got that softness out of your rock there in the middle. But what I love is your color, your use of color. You've got that nice cool background or foreground, excuse me, and then your sky is that nice color. And it's a nice gradient is kind of how I look at it. And the other thing overall on the project, very simplistic. That's what I love about these. They're not overly complicated images. There's a couple elements, but they're very powerful. And let's go to the one with I think it's the number 3. I think it's the rock. This one. So when I talk an intermediate landscape, I had this love-hate relationship with people in my images for landscape. I've always been like nobody, but this, what I loved about it is you had a person in it, which shows perspective. This to me is that grand scenic landscape. It's real wide. I probably know how big that rock is, or I don't know what you want to call it, but having that person in there, it shows that perspective. The other thing is I think you could have shot this where you had more sky, but I like where you have that more foreground and you've got that beautiful reflection. So overall, like I said, very simplistic, and the color. I mean, you don't have like lots of like competing elements in any of these. They're very simplistic images. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Dave. Great job. Our next photographer, Sandra Sisless. Snip, snip, bang.
Oh, shoot. Hi, everybody. This collection is very personal to me because not only was I the photographer, I was the stylist in the salon, and I took most of the photos, not all of them. I took all of the photos, but I did most of the art in most of the photos. So I hope you enjoy.
Sandra's snip, snip, bang. Justin, you're up first.
Perfect. So the first thing that I love, Sandra, is you use the word passion. And I think when you have passion for what you're photographing, it really comes through. So let's go to, I think it's image 3. It's the first one of a lady there. So what I love about this is it's all about eyes, I think for any portrait. And I was like pulled right into like looking right at her. And for me, I felt like, not that I know her, but I felt like, I had this connection. I think that's a hard thing to do, especially in a portrait where you have to convey lots of things. Overall, I think, it was a nice use of, you kind of have a busy background there, but you use that nice depth of field just oh so slightly to take it out of focus, where I think if you would have gone like really taken the background and dropped it out, you kind of lose that maybe where you're at. So environment's everything. So I think a great job on this. And then let's go to, I think it was number 5. I think it was the curlers in there, that one. I love how you had in your images 2 detail shots and then the before and afters, like this is them before and this is kind of what they're after, because like the hair there of showing the detail. I mean, I think a lot of people just want to shoot this really wide, but you kind of have that whole process again, which we've seen before in a couple of projects where you're following that process through. And it's not just, you could have done all portraits, really. You could have taken this project, made it portraits of people with their hair done, but you took it to another level. So great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Libby?
So funny enough, actually your opening slide did it for me. Your one with your, actually just your snips, because along with the title and the way that, I mean, it's funny because we've all, well, us girls have all been to the hairdresser so many times. It kind of felt like I was getting that sneak peek behind a chair. So then if you go on to that same third image that Justin was talking about with her eyes, it just like, I was like, okay, is this the person behind the chair? It was kind of that sneak peek of I mean, when you sit there and get your hair done, I know for me, it's like the eyes really don't exist in the back of your head, and the mirror only gives you so much. So it kind of feel like you're learning about this person who would be working on your hair, and these portraits of the people who actually create the magic of the salon, and how you go in feeling one way with that before and after images of how the magic is created. So I almost feel like you gave us a sneak peek into the magic of a hair salon, which I just thought was really cool, because for me, I know I sit there and have to go through some of it, and then but you don't get to see that opportunity. Now I get to see what it would be on someone else. And I think you did a really great job of showing that story and showing that fun piece of like, okay, a person in a shirt, just, kind of that moppy haircut, to this where he has, a mohawk, and it's like, wait, I didn't see that personality come out of him in that first shot. So it's a lot of fun. And I think it's definitely that sneak peek behind the chair that we all wish we could see of what magic you're creating behind us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Awesome work. I love it. Our next photographer, it's time for something different. Dennis Perry, portraits.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm really excited to present to you tonight. So my project I started down a path, and it's what happens when you take the fork in the path. Mark?
Dennis Perry's nice portraits. Libby?
I would actually love to see this as a series, a continued series, like a little coffee table book kind of thing, where the ice on one side and the image on the other. My question, I sat there staring at the ice, trying to figure out, okay, what's in the ice first? And 2, how was it used and utilized in these portraits? And I had a question that was just popped through my head when I was looking at them, going, I wonder if what you put in ice is reflective of that person. So do the flowers or do the objects in the ice relate to what that person does? Or it made me think a lot deeper about the image, not just, oh, that's cool, or wait, how did he do that? And that layering technique that you used, it was just a lot of fun. These are definitely images, especially the ones of just the ice with the objects. You could do almost a whole story, just writing prompts with these of what is it, and then how does it relate to that person. I think it's a great use of ice, and definitely a fun way to think of things.
Thanks.
Justin?
Where do I start, Dennis? In a
ahead.
good way. Like, there's 3 words I can only say is color, color, color. Your use of color in all your images always just boggles my mind. But what I love about this is I've seen this a million times, really, where people freeze things in ice, and that's where it stays. And you always have this thing of taking it to the next level, my man, every time. So it boggles my mind how you look at the image on the left and how you come up with what's on the right. And I was the same thing like Libby said, trying to figure out, at first I was kind of confused, and I started your project for quite a while. I have like a half a paragraph of notes here, because I was like, is he using pieces?
I told you, Dennis, I told you.
And I'm just like, God, I wish I could be like Dennis, because like you just take it to that next level of, you take something that's fairly normal and make it extraordinary. Like this one here, like that's cool. I love it the way it is. But then for you to take it to that next level and start adding in these layers and all these different things in your color, and I don't know, I could go on and on. We'll be here all night. So somebody's gonna pull me off stage eventually. So awesome job. I mean, I usually have 1 or 2 that I like of everything, but I think everything was so consistent in your project. Awesome job.
Thank you.
Justin, we better get the seed money for some of that coffee table book when you start selling it.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good, Dennis. Awesome work. Thank you. Our next photographer, Mary Jane Cordahi, looking for Ken. We can't hear you, Mary Jane. Yeah, now you're muted. We can't hear you. Your microphone's off.
Can you hear me?
There you go. Now you go.
Sorry about that, guys. Thanks to everybody for coming tonight. Just wanted to thank you for your support. And my story has been inspired by the love journey of my niece. And I hope you all can feel the emotion and feel the love through the pictures. Hope you enjoy. Thanks.
Mary Jane's looking for Ken. Justin?
Yes. So Mary Jane, I am so used to seeing your landscape stuff. It was super cool to see something outside that realm. So at first I was like looking for Ken, and I was like, okay, and it didn't click. And I went through the images several times, and then it clicked for me. And then you did I think it's so hard to tell a story with photographs because you want to add so much or take so much stuff out. And I think it's just hard to complete a story. But as you go through, I saw Ken here, and I'm like, okay, is it all Barbie pictures? And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. I knew what your story was about. And I went through it 3 or 4 times. And it was super cool. So let's go to number 5. That one. That is so different. I think especially for you, like, because I'm so used to seeing your landscape work, but there's like emotion here, and it makes me just want to think like, why is this happening, and what part of the story is this? And great use of black and white too, overall. And then let's look at number 11. So I like this because it's simple. It's all got kind of the same color palette going on. It's very pastel. There's no like really conflicting color like blue or an orange or something that's going to pull you away. And what I like about it too is a good use of the mirror. And you didn't focus on her, because I see a lot of people may want to focus on what's first in front of the camera, and then just kind of give you a little bit of glimpse of her reflection. But you reverse that. And the other thing too is, even though she is so big in the middle part of that frame, I didn't see that at first. I went straight to her. Her eyes, her emotion, I think that's what drew me in. Again, it's portraits, it's all about the eyes. And then I started just kind of going through and looking. So overall on the project, awesome job. Super awesome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Libby?
I thought your project was beautiful. It was a beautiful take on that love story of the good and the bad. Because sometimes we think of love as, you know, the once upon a time story, and it's perfect. You know, it's that perfect story. And your image, your first image with the little girl in the mirror, I thought was a great way of just, and that softness in her eyes, of just like the dreaminess in there. And then you go to your image number 5, and you go from this little girl who has this dream to just the trust that this person had in you, first off, to take the photo and to trust you to take this photo, but just that agony over a relationship gone wrong. And unlike Justin, I got the looking for Ken right away, just, you know, but then I was a girl playing with Barbies and I grew up too. So I'll give him a little grief on that one. But then you go to your image of her looking in the mirror, the number 11, of in that there, I almost wished this had been one of your last images, but I would have loved to see it in black and white, just to compare it to that little girl you saw at the very beginning, and then just have your last image be in color of like the aha story happened, you know, of that moment of just kind of that black and white, and she just suddenly came out of it. And you know that the story has been completed by that happiness moment at the very end, kind of that she's gotten out of that cloud. But the use of black and white, I think, was extremely strong, and I would have loved to see it kind of just played with it a little too, and see how the story would have read. And it would have read, it already reads beautifully, but just to kick it up just that little bit to black and white all the way through, maybe until even that last image.
Great feedback. Thank you so much.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Our next photographer, Sterling Standage, MB Sand, a beach volleyball club. Sterling?
Thanks everybody for coming out. Great job, everybody. This is chronicling or highlighting how a beach volleyball club trains kids to play and how they get to the next level, because now it's a scholarship sport in college, and the next thing up is playing internationally.
Sterling's MB Sand. And Libby, you're up.
I loved this story. I thought your overall image of the first image you presented with the overall volleyball match, you got the idea of where the story was going. It gave interest to the story because this, I feel, did tell a story. So I like you gave the setting, and then you go into, let me see which, number 8. I love the detail. Yeah, I love the detail of her digging for the ball. The only thing I would have tried to look at a little bit more, and this is coming from, thank you to my husband, backgrounds, is I would have loved to see that clean shot of her digging for it. But I will admit volleyball is one of my least favorite short sports to shoot. But it could, because it's hard for me. So I can't be too critical because I know it's tough. But I love the expression you have on her face of like the person's face, like, oh my gosh, I got the ball. And so I love it overall. I would just watch your backgrounds a little bit because I kind of lose her hands in that back in the ball bag there. And then if you go on to the next shot, Mark, please. And you can kind of see the difference of the cleanness of this shot of the background, but you still have that detail to the eyes and how that similar emotions are portrayed. But I thought overall you did a great job, and I give you kudos for shooting volleyball. I'll go to you anytime and ask you for help. It's just not my favorite to
Anytime.
shoot, but it is really hard. But you did an excellent job.
Justin?
Thank you.
I agree with Libby there. Volleyball is not my forte either. I've done plenty of sports. It's not enjoyable for me. I think you could have taken this project and just made it action shot after action shot after action shot, and you didn't. You told the story that there's more to a sport than the action and the game itself being played. You have all these nice like supporting images of what's during the game and after, and the detail of the volleyball. Let's go back, Mark, to number 11. I think that's where the girl was coming out of the bottom right-hand frame. Actually, yeah, so this was my other one. So one, I like placement of subject. And it's got a pretty clean background. It's kind of hard with sports, people say, well, you gotta have a clean background, which is totally true. And I think that's what's so hard about sports is the background's not always what you want it to be when you're trying to photograph from a certain angle, because that's where action and play is happening. So I love that there's that girl in the bottom right-hand corner who's kind of like looking, waiting while you have that action coming up over the net. You didn't catch it mid-net, it's right over. And again, you don't have like all this crazy background going on with people all over. It's very simple. Those 3 people almost create the little triangle there. You got the girl in the bottom right-hand corner. And then, they're both looking and trying to see where the ball is going to go. So awesome job.
I just want to point out, this is the only picture that's not MB Sand. It's the qualifying for the World University Games, which we start with the little kids and go up to this.
Cool. Thanks, Sterling.
I thought it was a great story overall. It was fun.
Yes. I love that one too.
Thanks, Sterling. Great job. Awesome. Our next presenter, ladies and gentlemen, Jim White, struggling to overcome the past. Jim?
Good evening. Nice to be with you all, and welcome to everybody who is spending time with us this evening. Mark, when you're going through this, could you give me about 9 or 10 seconds per slide, please?
Sure, you got it.
Okay. My presentation, a mirror to our eyes, is a phrase that has been applied in this situation by Richmond's mayor. Richmond has a difficult past on matters of race. It was a major hub in the slide in the slave trade. Pause right here, Mark. Major hub in the slave trade. It was the capital of the state from a long time ago, well before the Civil War. and it also served as the capital of the Confederacy. The first murals in this sequence you're seeing tonight were Richmond's African-American community's attempt to establish its own identity in the late 1960s through 2000, seen by the picture of the young man well-dressed, and this picture of the Richmond's first African-American fire department, which was seeded by a gift from the Richmond Fire Department to an all-black fire department. It was a used fire truck, sort of sets the tone for this. The Richmond Mending Walls Project, which is what I'm documenting in my presentation, is a grassroots movement that was inspired by nationally prominent muralist Hamilton Glass, who initiated a program to recognize Black progress, inspire local artists, and memorialize those lost to violence. The program began in 2020. This is the third year installment. And you'll notice in these first slides that they have a more militant tone. That was the 2020 installment of Moving Walls RVA. This occurred during the period of time of the George Floyd murder, and you can see the militancy in them. In 2021, starting with this, go forward, please, Mark. You can see in these slides, they feature art, and this is what I would call the assertive period. What I mean there is I believe that they were designed to exhibit self-awareness and pride upon the African-American community. In 2022, the work focused upon a wall or surrounding an old monastery, which is now home to Richmond Hill, which is a religious associated meeting facility. And it had been covered in graffiti, not anymore. The graffiti has been replaced by a mural of murals that's about 500 to 600 feet long. And I picked one of the muralists, Lizzie Brown, seen right here, working on her section of the mural. And she did an extremely good job with her section. And you can see in this video, I think the next thing up is a video of her working, working on, this is a time compression video, working on her area of the mural. And she's a local muralist. And this is her completed, a section of her completed mural, which I think is just really outstanding. And here she is in this slide, looking at her completed project. And what I love here is the look on her face as she views her contribution to what I think is a really inspirational monument to the work of this Moving Walls RVA for Richmond, Virginia.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Justin, you're up.
So Jim, I think with any project that you start, you have to have passion. I can tell you have passion for your project, and I think that's key. Let's go to number 4. Yes, I love this one just from the subject standpoint of you've got a lot of color. I mean, these are all very colorful murals. But what I like about this is you've got that zigzag of those windows. And for me, it kind of pulls me into the middle. I'm usually not one big, like, having your kind of main focus in the center, but this is one of those places where it's completely, I think, okay to break the rules. Because I think, where do I want to go with that? Like the bottom could be pretty busy and stuff too. And I think the way you framed everything, it kind of just pulled it all in for me, especially those windows. You know, it wasn't like there was 3 windows on the right. It's just all very balanced for me. And then let's look at number 6, Mark. So I have a thing for windows, obviously you can tell. What I love about this is at first I didn't even notice the windows at first. I noticed, you know, how we had the contrast of the black and white of the subject in the middle and then all the words in color. And then I started looking, it was such an interesting photograph to me, I wanted to read the words and I loved the colors. And then I started kind of focusing. Then I noticed like they painted over the window. And then again, you do have 6 windows there, but it's more U-shaped now because we broke that kind of pattern up. And I liked how the windows were all like, they're different. Some have the shades closed and some have it open. There's just so much to explore in this. And I think overall, you did a great job of having all the murals, you know, kind of in how they started out all the way through to the end, but then throwing in where you picked that one artist and focused on her and showed her work, kind of what she's doing, and then in the end, her completed work. And then on top of that, her expression to her completed work. I think you could have left it at her completed mural and been done, but you gave that final, like she was proud of what she had up there. So awesome job overall. You're very passionate.
Thank you.
Libby.
I don't disagree with Justin one bit. And for me, it kind of almost felt like you had the beginning of 2 different stories, and then that the picture story of her actually utilizing that time compression made it make sense for me, because we were looking at it without that story, without you narrating it as well. So for me, I felt like this kind of tied it together of that was the purpose of the murals. And like you went from an unkempt wall to this beautiful story. For me, I almost didn't feel that it was necessary to have that last photo of her, but I thought it was a beautiful moment because the focus on such a mural, and I almost felt like all the first images of the murals were portraits of the mural. So that could have been a person sitting there and you'd taken a perfect portrait. I would have loved to see her with her portrait behind her and see how you could have used that and incorporated her into that portrait, because I felt like if you go back to, I believe it was image number 2. Oh, sorry, number 3.
The fire truck.
The one after the fire truck, sorry. I felt like these were portraits of people. This one, like this could have been a portrait. You could have put a boxer right in front of it and had that juxtaposition of, excuse me, of, you know, a person. And I felt like that person was standing in front of me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily painted onto a wall, but the way the color, the way you composed it. And I felt like that could have been throughout the whole story, that it was the portrait of these people. And each person was a portrait, and yet it was a mural. And I could have imagined that person standing right there. You did an excellent job.
Thank you. That's
Thank you,
Muhammad
Jim.
Ali.
Thank you, everyone. Hold on a second. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is now break time. Let's go ahead and take a 2-minute break so everybody can stand up, use the restroom, come back. And when we come back, Tammy, Karen, all my assistants, if there are any questions that need to be asked, let's do those right after the break. So it's currently 12 minutes after the hour. We'll meet back at 7:15 here West Coast time. So everyone enjoy a little break, and we'll see you guys in a second. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. What an awesome first half tonight of our perspectives presentations. Thank you all the presenters. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Libby, for doing this tonight. And I hope you guys have enjoyed the wide variety of photography that the students have done. I think it's awesome. And, you know, all of the presentations were fantastic, all had their highlights, and it always thrills me every year. But I've been with them for the whole year. We started in January trying to decide what we're going to do, and then working on how we're going to present it and what story we're going to tell, and making the photographs. So thank you for hanging in there, students. Thank you for being with us tonight, everyone. Karen, Tammy, Eileen, are there any questions we need to answer from anyone?
Are you going to talk about at the end upcoming classes and that kind of stuff? Because there's been a couple questions about when the presenters or when they're going to be doing new classes.
So classes are, so very good, Tammy, thank you. I will send you all an email tomorrow with the links to photo boot camp for beginners, intermediate photography, and the slate of advanced photography classes. All the classes for the first portion of 2023 are open for registration now. All the classes are limited to their capacity. This class, the project class, is about 2/3 full already. So please, guys, if you're interested, log on tonight after the meeting and sign up, so that way everybody can get in. So like I said, photo boot camp is our beginning level class. So if you're a new photographer and you really want to spark your passion, learn your camera, come to photo boot camp. Intermediate, we break down into 5 different classes. In intermediate, Justin does the portrait class. Eileen, whose pictures you'll see in a little bit, is going to be doing the exposure class. Mark Crace does composition. Bill Balser does the flash class, and Heather does the portrait class. So we have a lot of fun in intermediate. And this year we have 6 different advanced classes. I do 2 of them. This class, the project class, which is a year-long class. Then we have a 6-month creative vision class, which is a live, and all those other classes are all Zoom. So you can take them from anywhere in the country. We are returning slowly to the classroom. So the creative vision class is a live class here in the Creative Photo Academy classroom, where you actually bring prints. It's for 6 months. So we do the January session and then the July session. Corey is doing her Get Inspired series. Katrina Brown is doing an awesome session called Ingenious Light. Steve Simon is doing an editing class. I just talked to another couple instructors today. We're going to be adding more classes to the advanced series as we go along throughout the year. And everything that is available for registration tonight. So go online, creativephotoacademy.com. You'll see at the top classes. Tammy, can you put the link in the chat? How do you know if you have the skill? So gang, how do you know if you have the skill? You try it, right? You try it, you get out there and have fun with it. You know, we rock you through this, we get you going. Are there any other questions, Tammy, that need to be addressed? By
Sorry, I
show
was
of
typing at the
chat,
same
remember
time.
chat to everyone. For those of you who've presented already, how many of you felt qualified for advanced photography when you walked in the door in January? And I know the answer to this, and that's a big fat 0.
Sterling says 0.
But look at what you guys did, right? You made amazing pictures. So Jim, you're back on video. Jim, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Make sure you're mute too, guys. So yes, so any other questions, Tammy?
Nope, we're good.
And did I answer all the questions there?
So far, it's just been positive comments.
Awesome. Very cool. I love it.
Mark,
All right.
there's one question. Is creative vision and the project class essentially the same kind of class?
Absolutely not. So the project class is you are working on your individual project, where in January, February, March, we're deciding what kind of a project you're going to do. In all the way through August, September, we're creating the images for our project. And then in September and October, we are editing the pictures we've already made, filling in the holes so that we can present them in November of next year. In the Creative Vision class, it is driven by your creativity. I make some suggestions, but it's all about what you want to present every week. And we talk about the images and review them, talk about the camera technique, the editing technique, the printing technique, all of the things that makes a picture happen. Did I answer that right, Joy?
You did. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, are we ready for part 2, everyone? Here we go. Can everyone see the slideshow?
Yes.
All right. There we go. So my project, every year in the project class, I make a project. This year, my project is entitled 002. And I wanted to document the growing phenomenon of pickleball here in Torrance and make a presentation to the city council because we need more courts, we need more funding, we need more area to recreate. So I undertook to photograph this growing sport in our city, and you'll see where my focus ended. For me, it ended up not to be about the sport, but all about the people. So my presentation of 002. All right, Libby, you're up first.
I loved your sense of community with these photos. I felt like it told a story of the community that pickleball presents. One image and Mark, I'm gonna pick on you a little, it kind of bugged me, was number 7, where her arm was cut off and there was no racket, or it was like, I was a little confused by this image in a sense, because I just didn't feel like it fit to the others of that community. Is she trying to reach for the ball? Does she have no hand on the other hand? And, you said I could do it to you, Mark.
Absolutely, I want that.
But I loved overall the sense of community that it felt. I would have loved to see the perspective of the ball, maybe instead of this image. Like, what does the sport look like from the perspective of the ball to these people? So, but otherwise, I thought it was an overall wonderful story. I loved that it was in black and white because it made all the images cohesive, and it could have been done on different days. It didn't have to be, people didn't have to be in the same color. And it allowed the wiffle ball to stand out, and people's facial expressions as well. But that one shot, I was just like, where does this fit?
All right, Justin, give me your best shot, baby.
I was gonna say, this is one that I've been waiting to rip into all night now.
Go ahead, come on, bring it on, bring it on.
So this image here, I think Libby said a lot of things that I was thinking, but I'm gonna have to counteract Libby on the one with the hand cut off. It annoyed me, but I think it did let me put it this way. It did what I tell people photographs should do. It made them think. It made her she was really focused on that image, even though it was in a way she was trying to like think about it and why was it in the series. So you drew attention to it. So I think that was great. But I think the one thing you nailed too that I loved is Libby said community. That community, the pickleball, but everybody's like all the portraits, the expressions, and I love black and white because when you get into that like athletic wear world, everything is so colorful that I think it really, really would have like drawn and like pulled your eyes away from these people. So I loved it. It was a different something different overall. I mean, when it comes down to, I never would have thought to shoot pickleball. So I didn't even know it was being popular. So, hey, you taught me something. So
Justin,
Right.
don't dare try to cross him because he's a mad pickleball player. And I think you and I might have to learn just to try to take him on.
well, hey,
Come
well,
on.
I got
I'm
something
always
new.
up for it, gang.
Hey, if I win against pickleball against you, can I get a Z9 at no cost?
Great, that's my deal. Let's go.
I'm gonna start training right now, Libby.
All right, guys, thank you. Our next photographer, Eileen Bowie, City on the Edge of Forever. Eileen? Are you there, Eileen? All right, so here we go. Eileen's photos. All right, Justin, because I know Libby is all focused on this, you get to go first.
Perfect. So this one kind of threw me for a loop at first. I was like City on the Edge, and then I got looking at it, and at first I was like, God, that looks really familiar. And then as I kind of became more familiar, obviously I knew what it was and where kind of thing. But I loved that. I always tell people we forget as photographers we're so like hard charging to get to the next scene to photograph that we don't look up and we don't look down. And we definitely don't turn around and look back. And I felt like that's what she did for a lot of these images. There was the things that we overlook. We don't look up and we definitely don't look down. We're always at that height. If you're 6 foot, that's where you'd see the world at. So I think she looked and took a lot of just different detailed shots. Let's go to the one with the wrench. I kind of like that one. I shouldn't say kind of, I did. Yeah, that one. It's gritty and the texture, and it's very simple too. I mean, it's not overly complicated. You've got the wrench there at the top right-hand corner, and you got some shapes, and I think it's got pretty good tonality too for the image. And then let's go to the one with the fan. That one. That's taking something so simple, and it would be overall a very boring image, but we made it interesting with the use of shutter speed. Because I think as photographers, we're so fixated on sharp, it's got to be perfectly tack sharp, that we forget that our camera can go slow and we can show action and motion. So she took something very simple, and I think kind of found that extraordinary in the ordinary. I love how it's kind of like two-toned. Got some color in that top left-hand corner. You got that light, more neutral colors in that bottom right. So overall, I think it was a great project. It was something, I think probably one of the more different projects for subject matter. So great job overall.
Libby?
I would agree with Justin. And I will be honest, I knew where the place was right off the first photo, but I also spend way too much time there. So unlike Justin, I have a little bit more access to it than he does. But the image for me was number 4 that stood out, because I have seen all of these items from walking through. So like Justin's seen that one building back in another project, I've seen this, the hard and soft to me spoke. It spoke to me in this image, and the use of clouds. And I know in Southern California how we don't always have these beautiful fluffy clouds, that hard and soft really worked with those lights for me. And I love the detail. And then to go to her shot, okay, I can tell you which shop it was in, sadly. But if you go mark a couple ahead, yes, no, I'm not going to start naming every place at Batu. This one.
So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't realize, this is at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland.
Hey, Mark, if you go one back, because the shop that she's shooting in has incredibly low light. So I know what a challenge it is to shoot in this store, and the detail and the softness she brought to it. And I really loved that hard and soft that she brought to this whole project. And the little detail pieces that I've walked in those same footsteps and not seen some of these same images. So I loved her look. I love that use of hard and soft. Just overall an amazing job.
I agree. Thank you, Eileen. I'm sorry you weren't on to, I know you're here. I'm sorry you couldn't join us. So great. Thank you, Eileen. So ladies and gentlemen, up next, Teresa Carroll and All Things Tiki. Teresa.
Well, I think I had the most difficult project to shoot because I had to visit tiki bars. So I hope my portfolio inspires you to go online and find some tiki bars in your area and change up your idea of what a good night out can be.
Teresa Carroll's All Things Tiki. Libby?
I thought it was just fun. That overall, I got that vibe of, I want to go out, I want to have a good drink, I want to hang out with friends. You got that tropical feeling in the middle of the city, which I thought was just a lot of fun. And I think your use of color with the drinks, and making them highlight, it made it a lot of fun. It made me want to go, hey, I want to go there. I want to do that. And I feel like you brought that exude fun in there, especially the drink that was on fire. It was a great way to start the presentation because it led into that wow factor. So Mark, her first image with the drink on fire.
There we go.
I thought, the clean background, it really kind of made you jump and be like, wow, what's going on here? And then I also liked her image of when the the back with the waitress.
The waitress. That one.
I thought, yes. And I thought it's so hard to shoot in some of these low light areas. You did a great job bringing the color, bringing the excitement, and even involving the staff, which sometimes they'll shy away. No, I don't want my photo taken. No. So it shows the fact that you can make your subject feel so comfortable in this fun environment as well. You can just tell it's a beautiful story and a fun time.
Justin?
Yes, so when I think tiki, I think, like Libby said, fun and color. And I thought you brought color in, your use of color through the entire project was awesome. The other thing, I got that Cheers vibe, but in tiki format. So, I think bringing that connection with people too, I felt like with all the detail shots like this, you could have just gone all portrait wise of people just hanging out at the tiki bar, but there's all these little nuances and details. And even in the background, in this one, your depth of field is not super shallow. It still gives us that environment. We know what it is. But I think you brought a sense of like community and that vibe through all your photos. So awesome job.
Justin, what's funny is if you look back at that food shot, I just saw it right now. It almost looks like the Tiki is wanting to eat that food. I just saw it right now, and I've looked at these images a few times, but it looks like he's ready to eat, and it's just it's having those creative things in the background that I didn't. I mean, I saw that right now as you were talking. I was like, oh man, I missed that before. You know, so it's these fun things and these elements that she's used, I think were great.
Yeah, it's like the little surprises you find in a photograph. Like you said, you've looked at these a bunch of times. So did I. I went through these several times, and I didn't notice the little guy in the background there until I was looking at it again, talking. So yeah, it's amazing what you can find when you keep repeatedly looking at a photo.
Thank you, Teresa. These are fantastic. Good job. Our next photographer, John Peterson, becoming Montanan. John?
John cannot connect audio. He's watching, but he can't see or speak or hear it all. So he's said he'll listen to the critique tomorrow when you send the recording, but right now he just wants everyone to enjoy.
Great. Thank you, John. So John recently moved to Montana and is assimilating from Southern California. And this is his take. John Peterson's becoming Montanan. Justin.
So one word, jealous. I would love to live in Montana. But I mean, hey, I'm a Midwestern guy, so I kind of connect with the story, I feel like. Let's go to the one with, oh, I lost my notes here. Let's go to the one with the cows. There wouldn't be. If you've taken my landscape class, I said something about cows before. There we are. I love how we have that little calf kind of looking right at us. He's got the white head, the black body, so just a lot of contrast. I like how you've used, like, you've got bright areas and dark areas, and your lighter areas are drawing your attention in there, especially the black cows with the contrast to the white backgrounds. I'm a sucker for clouds. I love clouds. I will not take a photograph if there's no clouds. I still will, but I won't like it in the end. But I think overall, you're telling your story. You're moving from California to Montana. This is a whole new world for you. So I think, this project is super cool across, you're exploring new areas. You're kind of becoming Montanan. And let's go back to the one with the belt buckle. I love this one. I love the tonality, the black and white. The whole belt, like the belt buckle itself, is in focus. It's got a great subject matter, Montana, bison, but I love the grit to it. You've got the countertop there. It's got some, what do I want to say, character to it, but that belt buckle, it's not pretty and new, it's used. When I think of Montana, I think it's rough. I just spent a week at Glacier back in June. It's a tough environment. And I think this photo here just says Montana. So awesome job.
Libby?
I have a certain affinity for cows as well. But that image spoke to me with the cows, and I love that you had something in the foreground, something in the middle, and something where you kind of were glancing off in the distance. And for me, the use of big sky. And that's something, as growing up in a city, we forget that the sky exists sometimes. I think we're so laser focused, especially around Los Angeles, of getting between point A, point B, that each one of these presented, if you go back, I believe it was one image, you know, we get one more, I apologize. The sky, even in an image like this, where you've got the truck in the front and you've got the building, you still have a focus on the sky. Here, you've got that leading line down the road leading you to the sky and to the, and you know, it gives you that sense of serenity. And the use of black and white, I think, really ties them all together, because your light could have been so different on different days that to tell the story, the use of black and white, I think, was key, so that it tied all of them together. It wasn't, oh, it was brighter on this day, it was a sunset, it was a sunrise, you know, it was midday. It could have been any time of day with the way that these photos were done in black and white. And I think he did a fantastic job. Makes me want to go to Montana.
So John is an awesome black and white printer, gang. Amazing guy, amazing photographer. Thank you, John. Thank you for sharing. These are beautiful images. Our next photographer, Joy Donis, Through My Lens.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. And when I first started photography, composition and lighting completely threw me. And I saw a world in a different place, in a different way. And this is just taking it one step farther for me, is to see ordinary things and what can I do next.
Joy Donis's Through My Lens. Libby?
For me, this was a puzzle. I sat there and stared at them, trying to guess at what image you used and how did she do it and what did she use. And for me, it was just a lot of fun. And the use of color throughout was, I think, the use of color made those images. To have your swirls, for instance, Mark, the first, or I believe it's image number 2. This one, I was the other one I was going to talk to. I wasn't sure. I was like, did a finger get in the way? Is this trying to be a person? Is this somebody's hair? Like that use of color, I was just thought was neat. And then this one, number 2, I was trying the depth of the photo. I was like, what is it? Is it a truck? Is it a car? Is it a mirror? It sparked a conversation about the photo that I didn't want to stop talking about it. I must say, I showed a couple of my students and they were just like, wow, what is that? And you had them amazed and they instantly wanted to know more. And I said, they go, what is it? And I was like, I don't know. What do you think it is? So it sparked that conversation with younger students that don't typically actually look at photography or portraiture or, these fine art pieces. I felt like these could have been on gallery walls and had my students just sit there and write, what do you think it is? And just get their creative minds going. Because, we always get used to told what is a photograph, what it is. And this just made you think, which I thought was amazing.
Thank you.
Justin.
Joy, you had my heart from the first image, so I knew exactly what you were doing here. I love this. I do a lot of this kind of work too. It's one of those things you can do any time of the year. If I'm not feeling creative, you can go into this work, and I could, like Libby said, your use of color. I've done the ICM thing in black and white. It's all about the color. I think your techniques and the way you said you're trying to find something extraordinary kind of in the ordinary, I think you did it. I think it was images 6 and 7 were my favorite, just from color. I think number 6 seemed very futuristic to me. I like how it's almost, it almost has like an X, and you've got almost 4 kind of different colors in each one of those quadrants. And for me, I could just stare at these all day and keep finding new stuff to look at. And like Libby said, you know, how people look at art or photography, sometimes people don't see as photography as art. This, I think if you showed this to people, you could start changing some minds. So great job. It was awesome to see somebody else doing something a little bit different. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Joy. Good job.
Mark, I have to say one of the comments that just came through that her images should be looked at the wallpapers for Apple in the back of the screens. I could totally see it.
Yeah, that would be cool, wouldn't it? Wow, that would be great. Thank you, Joy. Ladies and gentlemen, our next photographer, Karen Breckel, the Farmers Market. Karen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Mark.
Yay.
So I enjoyed doing this project because it actually helped me get over my fear of asking strangers if I could take their photos. Plus, I got to take a lot of good food home with me.
Karen's the Farmers Market. Justin, you're up first.
Let's go. I think it was the last one, Mark. The one where it was, I think, yes, that one. Let's start out with that one. What I love about this is your use of shutter speed. Again, you're not worried about making this super tack sharp. You're giving the viewer a feel of, I don't want to call it chaos, but it's a farmer's market. There's stuff going on all over the place. You got people walking. Your use of shutter speed here to tell the story is awesome because it's giving that people that sense of, hey, there's movement, not, you know, everybody stopped mid-stride. So awesome job on this. Plus, I love all the color. I mean, this is one of those things that you're kind of looking like, what's this lady doing down here? And what's this guy doing? There's people walking. There's like layers of action going on. You could like literally pull yourself all the way to the back. Let's go to the, boy, there's several in here, but let's go to the one with like all the basket. And I had like, I love this one too, just all your detail shots as well. Oh, let's stop at this one. Sorry.
All right, you got to tell me, Justin. You want this one?
Nope, the other one with all the carrots. I
Oh,
think
the
that's what, yeah. That one. I love this because the use of color is very busy, but I think if you had, they're all kind of laid out in their own little world of each color, and each strip is a different color. I think that's what makes this image so interesting, because if they were just all mixed in by varying of colors, I think it'd be really busy and chaotic and hard to just kind of look at overall, but I love how it's layered in there. So overall, I think you did a great job with, you know, showing the action, emotion, kind of the hustle and bustle of the market on top of all the detail shots, you know, people picking up tomatoes, things like that. So I think you did a very good job of telling the story.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Libby.
I thought this was a great story. Not only the color, but the texture and this carrot image. I also have to look at it sometimes as a newspaper photographer, since that's what I work for a lot of the time, is these images would translate to black and white. I know the color makes them pop, but if I had to tell a story and put it on the newspaper to say, come to the Torrance Farmers Market, I feel like your story holds up in black and white and in print, because you have that depth of field, you have that texture that could be told across a black and white story if it had to be. If you're like, you know, because you don't always get that front page or that page with color, and this story could be told in black and white. And I think you just did, and I'm not pushing for black and white, I'm just saying that it's strong enough that it could be held up in both black and white and in color. I think the use of color is amazing. I actually loved the eggs because we look at something so simple as an egg. We see it every day. We might make an omelet, you might do this, but the speckles, the color, the pop of color of the tray that they're in. And I loved your use of angles in these. It wasn't all straight on. I've had to cover farmers market assignments, and I'm jealous that I didn't have this to look at first before I went out and shot it for that angle piece. And I just think if you can get over your fear of stopping somebody and saying, can I take your picture? Or I took your picture, do you mind if I use it? It's one of the hardest things to do. So if you conquered that fear as well, this project was a win-win, and it definitely shows through your photos, and congratulations on that. That is a skill that is hard to do and not easy for most photographers. So excellent job. I think just hands down, give it a 10.
Thank you so much.
When you're
Thank you,
uncomfortable,
Sharon.
you're amazing.
Awesome. Our next photographer, Tammy Johnson and Wanderlust. Tammy?
Well, thank you all for coming out tonight and supporting all the photographers. Everyone worked really hard this year to get to this point. So please join me as I send our youngest child off to college.
Wanderlust. All right, Libby.
You make me want to go travel. I loved it. And I felt like a lot of these images could be utilized like as not only were they great images, but they were great stock images that tell a story. And your use of mirrors was amazing. I loved the use of mirrors and the use of light with those mirrors. Like for instance, I mean, your first image out of the gate was just powerful. That road and that journey that you're going to take is, I've tried so many times to take a picture in the mirrors and never get it right, or very rarely get it right. And I feel like this gets it right. And you have the horizon line, the use of the mirror, the shape of the mirror works wonderful with it. And then you go to your next image, the second one is just the excitement that exudes of travel. And so you get that true sense of wanderlust in not only in your title, but in the sense of your images as well. And the excitement of your daughter, because you can tell she has that quirky, fun personality just by how she interacts. And then a personal favorite was the one of her with a book, because you can tell that she is just, maybe that's a quiet contemplating moment, like, Mom, what'd you do? You just caught me, in her moment of downtime too. And I just loved that because it was clean. It was a soft image, except for her eyes. It's a great portrait. Her eyes draw me in to that image. So overall, I think you did a fantastic job, and what a fun way to be able to document that for her.
Thank you.
Justin.
I wish Libby would have left me something to say. But I mean, that first photo of the mirror, I think every photographer goes through at some point. We all take a picture in the mirror of some sort. And I felt, I have a 9-year-old daughter, so I can connect with the story of having a daughter. And someday, I count the years now and I'm like, oh man, she's going to be gone too, sooner than later. But I feel like this is, like Libby said, the journey, but it almost for me kind of felt like all those years you put in as a parent. It's not a bad thing if they're leaving the nest kind of thing, but it's like everything you've done up to that point, they're leaving. But let's go to the one with the book. I love that one too. Because again, like I've said a million times tonight with portraits, it's all about the eyes. And it was kind of that like a little mysterious, a little bit of like, like, hey, it's a portrait, but her eyes, there's just something about her eyes, it just draws you in. It's kind of that image, does she like to read? It's a story you can read into, but I think overall on your project, it does tell the story. And I can see how proud you are of her. Just, all of your hard work and her hard work through your project, and then all of her hard work, and off to college she goes. So overall, great job at telling the story.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Tammy. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, Calvin Abe, Extraction. Hello, Calvin.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. These are all wonderful projects. This Extraction is a 2-year journey. I travel every month to Sacramento, between LA and Sacramento, and I discovered this place. And at first I thought was an awful place, but I did discover the beauty, and I found myself in this landscape. Thank you.
Extraction, everyone. Justin, you're up first.
Let's go to the one that had the oil with all that one right there.
This one?
Nope, one more back. One more, sorry. Maybe it was one more. That one. I really, on a lot of these, your use of shadows, and even though you got like overexposed skies, it's just like two-toned. I mean, as I was going through, I was writing more notes, and I wrote like your use of vantage point, your shadows, use of light, texture. I mean, all these are in some way, I kind of know what it is, but at that same time, you've given me and left out just enough that it makes me, is it truly what I think it is? I mean, overall, I loved it. A great use of black and white. And there's just lots of, for me, thinking. I get to go through and explore these images, look at them and say, okay, what is this about? Or what's the subject? It's one of those things, like I said, we're inundated with photos, scrolling through social media and scroll things that make you stop. This would be a project that I'd love to see printed big and in a gallery, and just be able to go through and just stare at them all for hours. So awesome job.
Thank you.
Justin, stop reading my brain, please. Because this image here, if it had been your first one, and I love it, and I love the use of angle, that you weren't looking at all of it in the same way. I almost wasn't sure if you were laying on the ground for this one. It made me think, okay, what's going on? Is it a bird? Is it a this? I just loved the placement of it. And the more I looked at it, the more I wanted to look at it even more. I know that seems redundant, but it is. And then your first image, I believe it was first or second, Mark, sorry for not memorizing them.
Stop me.
Go back one, I apologize.
No apology needed. This one, Libby?
Yes, the use of line on that one. The shadow and the use of line and the symmetry that's with this, there's always something a little bit more to look at. And I've seen a lot of these on commutes when you're, driving through the desert and Palm Springs, that kind of thing. And I just thought it was a unique take on them. But that use of line, and then even having the telephone poles to create that sense of size and perspective, because we all know, we've seen telephone poles and we've seen how tall they are, and then to have how tall these are. And I always as a kid thought they looked like birds, and it's just like, how cool it is to have these workhorses just keep going and going, and how the telephone poles almost look a little bent, and these just have so much motion to them. And I just thought you did an amazing job taking a subject that not many people would stop and think about as well. So bravo to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Calvin. These are amazing. Heather Morrow, Little Pricks. Heather?
Thanks, Mark. Thank you for everyone for joining, and for my family that's staying up very late on the East Coast. I do appreciate it. Also, thanks to all the photographers who went out in my search for Little Pricks and helped me with that.
Heather's Little Pricks. Libby?
I thought these were some fun images, and definitely another coffee table book that I need to just be curious on and look at further. And I almost would love to see this in like a biology book of, plant life, and how the different, how the different points or pricks on each of these plants are slightly different. It's not only are they beautiful images, but they're such wonderful teaching tools too. And that's where my brain looks at things in a slightly different way. I'm like, oh my gosh, students need to see these. They need to look at how these are. And Mark, there was one, I believe it was image number 3 or 4. Oh, stop right there. That one was the other one I wanted to talk about. Go back one more, Mark, to image number. Yes, it almost too far. And this one almost reminded me of when kids get so curious and they look at the snails, before snails like pull in their little eyes. It was like, wait, is it a bug going up and down? Is it this? And it just kind of gave me that kid joy. And then to realize, wait, those are the things that hurt me when I'm trying to look at a plant. I was like, wait, but they look so fun. You were able to take such a subject like this and make it fun. And I was just like, what's on there? And it almost reminds me of the skulls at the end, like when a cow passes away and you've got that. It's like, are those little mini ones? And so this image to me was just a lot of fun to look at. And I was like, it was a lot of fun. And to bring fun to these little pricks, I was like, I don't usually like these things, and I'm like, but it made me really want to go explore what's around me and what's around our community even further. So excellent job of bringing light a subject that not many of us actually want to always look at. And I don't mean look at it in a bad way, but I'm kind of scared of them sometimes.
Thank you.
Justin.
Yeah, I mean, this was a different type of subject matter. I think something that a lot of people wouldn't think of overall to photograph. And then I love your name, because at first I read the name and I'm like, I have no clue what we're talking about. And then I saw the first image and I'm like, oh, awesome. So then I knew what we were in for. But I love your use of contrast. You've got dark backgrounds, the subject pops. Your backgrounds are super clean. You're bringing all your attention to your subject. Like that last one, the color. I love the color in it. But I felt like in all these, they're all different in so many ways. You brought out like each one has a personality, really. And you brought that out in each subject. So again, like just every year, texture, the light, the color, and overall it was just fun. I think it was just a lighthearted kind of something, again, that I don't think most people would think of. I know we think of macro stuff and like pretty flowers and nice little things, and these guys are just a little more rough around the edges. So great job.
Thank you so much.
This
You're welcome.
this particular image made me think of a pillow. And I was like, why am I thinking of a pillow? And it's cacti. I'm like, no, but I
Go
loved
ahead,
it.
Libby. Go ahead, lay down. Go ahead.
Yeah, you dare me to.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Heather. Our next photographer, Renee Footer, Texicana. Renee, are you there?
Yes, good evening. A year ago, I made the decision to move from Southern California to Texas. I visited several times and I thought I knew Texas. As an outsider, I had perceptions about my new home. But once I began to experience Texas, my awareness changed. So I spent 10 months exploring Texas, capturing the characteristics using an infrared camera.
Renee Footer's Texicana. Justin?
Let's go to the image with the little kid. So I think that's a fireworks stand, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, there we are. Yeah, that's what I love about it, because I don't know, there's like, reminds me of kind of like that little 1950s vibes, you know, kids throwing firecrackers around and things they shouldn't be doing. You know, you don't expect the kid to be hanging out the fireworks stand. I love your use of the technique of infrared, taking it a different, infrared just gives everything such a different look, and a lot of people aren't doing that. So it's great to think outside the box. Let's go to the one with the, why can't I think of the term? That one too. Let's talk about this one. I love the sky. Obviously, I'm a sucker for skies, but what I also love this is you have people interacting within the photograph. It's not, you could have left the people out, and it, to be honest, that if you left the people out, it would be a cool photograph, but I think the interaction of the couple and the knife and how it kind of, that knife is diagonal and it goes with those clouds. I love it. And then let's go to the last one, the oil well one. I think this is one too where you're just kind of like everything, it's just different. You know, you got the hat, it's Texas, you know, you think of Texas and big hats and boots and all that good stuff. I would say overall, I think you did a great job of capturing Texas. You know, like the two sheriffs there standing out on the street. I love that too. I mean, you just had a great overall like sense of this is Texas, cowboy hats and boots and guns and the whole 9 yards. So I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For me, the bovine coming down the street and the cattle drive, I thought was a lot of fun. Mark, you can stop there for a second too.
I'm going to Fort Worth, baby.
Yeah, that is just, you know, when you think Texas, you think everything's bigger in Texas, and you just, you know, that was just fun for me. It's a fun moment. I love the use with the color in it. It makes it a totally different image. Thanks, lady. And I really loved it because you also come from an angle where you don't look like you're standing at your normal height. You actually look like you've kneeled down and kind of gotten on the level of the street to get them coming at you. And I loved that. And your first image was probably the most impactful image because it was like, bam, you're in Texas right now. And just they're staring right at you. I actually loved that everything wasn't exactly level, that the use of sky, that little bit of that color in there. It just, for me, I'd love this and I'd put it on my wall in a heartbeat. Just a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Great job. And finally, our last presenter, Jen Hoff. This ain't Mayberry. Thanks, Jen.
Hi, thanks everyone. My project took me down the back roads and the byways of the Western Mojave Desert. So I hope you enjoy exploring this area as much as I did.
Jen Hoff's This Ain't Mayberry. Libby?
Bravo. I loved these images. I was intrigued. It makes me want to stop. It makes me want to take that extra time traveling somewhere and pull off on those side roads and, take that extra time. The picture of the doll on the ground, wow, what an image. And to be honest, it was like, I didn't know whether to be creeped out. I didn't know to be intrigued. What happened to this kid? What happened to this family? It's just such a telling moment. And then to have the tire tracks running through it is like, well, did the doll get run over? Did it get thrown out of a car window? Like, what's the story of this doll? And I like it. I liked it. And that kind of gave that eeriness to the eyes too, that the eyes weren't there. So it was just really well done. And then if you go, Mark, back one more on number 6, I believe. That one, I wanted to know, like, well, where's the kids? What happened? Just kind of like, it feels like they were left in a rush and they just left their pile and their goodies ready to go. And then it was like, well, were they called off? It really was a thought-provoking story. And I felt like this could go along with the story of with one of those stories that's just like, oh, the backwoods, the backstory of these communities that, we want to know more about. So great job, fantastic. And I liked the mailboxes as well as like, what's happening in this community? Is it getting less? Is it, this tells a story in it as well. Like, we used to have so many more apartments and now some mailboxes are missing. So it just kind of gave that story of a town, and you want to know more about what's happening with that town. So excellent job.
Justin?
You make me want to hop on a plane, literally, and go, this is my jam. I love the things that most people pass over. I think most people look at this, that is what it is. I love the mailboxes. I love your use of light through the entire project. Most people want soft, pretty light. You used hard light in a way to tell the story that fits the scene. It's the desert, it's Mojave. Let's go to the one with the drawer. What I love about this one is it's just simple. It's something you found. It's just a drawer. It really is. But you've taken something so mundane and made it fun, something different. Most people would overlook that. They'd walk by, they probably wouldn't even see it, to be honest. But I don't know, I just love your images. I mean, this is probably, they always say save the best for last. I mean, when I was looking at these, I just wanted to explore. I was like, I want to know what's behind this building. I want to know what's over here. You leave a lot to wonder. Like, I wonder what, like Libby said, wonder where the kids went with the wagon. I want to know why this drawer is out in the middle of nowhere. Like, is there anything in the drawer? Your project leaves lots of questions, and I think that's awesome. It makes the viewer think. We're not telling the viewer what it is, what it needs to be. It's pretty much left up to your imagination. For all we know, somebody just threw the drawer out, but you can make a story. Every viewer looking at your project can have a different story. So I think overall, great use of light and your shadows, and the doll head too. I don't know, like Libby said, am I supposed to be creeped out? I thought it was kind of cool, something different. You know, do I need to be creeped out? I don't know. I should be, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting, to be honest. It's a great job overall. I'm very impressed.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Here. All right, you guys got me? Here we go. So Karen, Tammy, are there any questions we need to answer?
I don't see any questions, Mark.
So I want to thank Libby and Justin for your honest opinions and what a great job you did tonight. Awesome. I want to thank all of our presenters.
There's 24 spots open.
Sterling, please mute your mic. I want to thank all of our presenters for joining us. So guys, come on, open your cameras, open your microphones, come on back, everyone.
Yes, thank you, Justin. Thank you, Libby. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
And thank you, Mark, for leading
You're
us.
welcome. Thank you. I can't tell you. So remember, gang, what it felt like in January?
Oh, yeah.
When we all brought together a pile of crap in the pictures we were trying to make into a project, right? And I say that with the utmost respect.
My crap is art.
Look what we have tonight. You guys did an awesome job. Every single project you've got to be proud of. I am proud of every single one. Your effort is clear. Your dedication is clear, and I can't wait to work with you all again next year on what we're going to do for our projects for 2023. And if, for those of you out in the audience who want to join us, you're welcome. Please get on it. If you're a beginner, sign up for boot camp. If you're an intermediate photographer, intermediate. If you want to try the creativity of advanced, and if you have questions, give me a call tomorrow or talk to Renee in the Creative Photo Academy office. We'll get you taken care of. We have a lot of choices for you. And
Mark,
I just can't say thank you enough. Yes, Heather.
I would say that anyone who thinks they have to complete all the intermediate to go to the project class, don't do that. Just jump right in. If you think you can do something cool like this, go for it.
Yeah.
Don't. I hear that all the time. Well, I haven't taken all the intermediate classes. I'm like, I think I took one.
And the other thing, gang, is look at the diversity in the projects. Look at what everyone did different stuff. You do your own thing. And that's one of the things I love about it. Some were photo essays, some were photo stories, some were photo collections. We'll talk about all that. But I just want to thank everyone. I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to reach out and give you a big hug and say thank you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being part of this. The family, the community we built here at Creative Photo Academy and Paul's Photo is just beyond belief. And thank you so much. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Libby. Thank you, everyone. What a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the family and friends who stayed up late at night tonight to see us. So
Mark, I feel like if some of these guys, I better watch my job here in LA if they're taking up.
So Libby, I have a hint for you. They all have day jobs.
I
Not all
don't.
of us.
No, I don't.
We have to.
Just don't.
Retired. There you go, right?
We have to
They
be
did an
able to afford
amazing
the
job.
gear.
Justin and I better be watching our backs of who's coming behind us.
Yeah. Can I
love
say
it.
one thing?
I love it. Yes, Justin, go ahead.
So, yes, so thank you for having me. This was
You're
a
welcome.
blast. This is why I teach for CPA. The students that are put in front of me are willing to learn. You guys put in a lot of hard work. I do a lot of projects myself, and I know how much work you guys put into this. It's not easy. You know, like Mark said, you bring a pile of crap and you got to figure it out. I'm doing a really big project right now, and it's daunting. You guys all gave me a little bit more inspiration to kind of hit it a little harder this week, but you guys did all an awesome job. I could see the passion in all your guys' projects, and it was fun to meet Libby and find out there's another person in the world that thinks a little bit about me. I don't know if that's scary or not, but again, awesome job, everybody. You did great. So hopefully I'll see some of you guys too in intermediate landscape sometime. So.
Thank you, guys. Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep going, keep photographing, have fun, hug your family, and go out and make a picture, everybody. Good night, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Michael.
Good job, everyone. See you next.